Welcome to City Life. Firstly, I'd like to welcome TSB to the City Life family. It's really good to have you here with us. Today on the program, we talk about Hello Sunday Morning, how we can protect our youth as rates of suicide increase in New Zealand. World Breastfeeding Week is coming up, so we hear about the big latch on, and we find out about a special event this weekend from the Canterbury Theatre Organ Society. But first, Sheila, welcome to the program. Good to have you here.
Oh, thank you very much for inviting me.
Now, we usually have Bede from Community Energy Action, so it's nice to have you here. I'm guessing he's on holiday, taking a well-deserved break.
He's taking a well-deserved break, yes.
Tell me about Community Energy Action.
Well, Community Energy Action is something that all of Canterbury can be incredibly proud of. Absolutely. It's a fantastic story. We started over 17 years ago, and it started with these amazing do-it-yourself type projects working within the community. We worked with Te Whare Ramata Trust, and from that we developed a program. We've been doing that for the last 17 years, where we insulate houses underneath the floor, ceiling insulation, draft stopping, and also curtains. We provide free curtains for people in great need.
So is this all done for free, or is there funding? Do people pay? Do they part fund it? How does it work? Well,
we get supported by the government through the Energy Conservation Authority. So we have discounts for everybody, by the way. And the great thing about it is we're able to provide free curtains. We have free impartial advice. Our people tell us that that's what they want. They want something they can ring up and feel really confident about energy advice and know that they're going to a place like Community Energy Action, because we're a charitable trust. But also they can support us by getting the insulation, underfloor insulation, knowing that we feed everything back to the people of Canterbury, and we help those. We have special programs, charitable programs, those in elderly health, and also a warm babies program as well to help young mums keep their babies warm, and also those people with health needs. So everything's fed back to the people of Canterbury to keep them warm.
Are you finding yourself a lot more busier than usual this year?
We went through a period, actually the reverse, where it was fairly quiet because everyone was dealing with the earthquake and what were they going to do, and with their houses, what zone would their houses be in. So a bit quieter, but yes, we're certainly picking up now. OK. Now, your latest initiative is the Curtain Bank. Yes. Tell me about this. Well, the Curtain Bank is quite old, actually. It's 16 years old. But,
oh, really?
But what's fabulous about it is that we've lost 2 buildings, you might know that, and we're starting up the Curtain Bank again, and that starts on the 9th of August. And the fabulous thing is that we were given a whole lot of curtains from Churchill Courts. So they lost their buildings, but they've donated all their curtains to us.
Oh, right. So how's it going?
Fantastic. We work with a group called Arc Technologies. You might know they put in the smart meters. And they volunteered their time, and they were there on Friday picking up all the curtains from Churchill Courts, and we're transported into our new building in Wilson's Road.
Because you've lost your building more than once.
We've lost it twice, you're right, exactly. Yeah. We lost it, the first one we lost in September, we moved, and we lost the second one. So now we're spread out a little bit. The main office is in Brighton. We've got the Curtain Banks opening in Wilson's Road.
OK. So how's your team coped moving a couple of times?
It's been tough, but we have these amazing people working for us. You just wouldn't believe it. You should go out there and have a look at us sometime, because we've got incredible staff, and they've just kept manning the phones. They've even manned them from their own houses at one stage, just to keep the business going and to help people in Canterbury keep warm.
What sort of help have you had from the community, support from the community?
Well, we do get well supported. Orion, for example, has supported us for years, and you might know Roger Sutton of Sarah fame. He was on our board at one stage. So we're well supported with people. We have a lot of government funding as well that we can use as subsidies to help people.
OK. Now, so it's not only the Curtain Bank, but you also have the elderly health program.
That's
Tell
right.
me about this one.
Well, anyone who's over 65 who needs heating, by the way, we put in energy efficient things like heat pumps, which you've probably seen earlier, and also low emission burners. And we put those into people's homes, and we provide insulation for people who are elderly, so they come in the over 65 level. OK.
So let's just talk about, so you help them put this into their homes. Do they pay for it? Let's just talk about the payment. The payment, yes, we have up to, for the elderly health program, if you qualify and you have a community service card, then it's up to 60%. And then for our special charitable programs, we can even help more with subsidies. OK. DIY window insulation, tell me about this one. Oh, well, window insulation, it's fabulous. It's a total bargain. The poster, it's gone. We'll show it in a minute.
And Basically it's a plastic which people can put on their windows themselves, and it's a great moisture barrier.
Okay, and I know the CDHB was giving newborns some woolly hats this winter when they were leaving hospital. Oh, here we go, Warm Babies program.
Warm Babies.
Didn't even see that one actually.
That's right.
So tell me, what do you do for newborns, for young mums? What do you do for them?
For young mums and with the young children, we're able to go into their homes. We can provide heating for them through heat pumps, as we said, or the energy low efficient burners, energy burners, and then we can put in insulation under the floor, moisture barriers, ceiling insulation, we draft stop the windows, all that kind of thing.
Okay, and how much time do you need to do that kind of thing? Do they call you up and you're like, right, we'll be there this afternoon?
They can ring us actually, we've got a new 0800 number, 0800 Get Warm Canterbury, so 0800 Get Warm if you're a young mum with a baby or an elderly person or anybody general, because everything we get for our insulation we feed back to run our charitable program, so it's just 0800 Get Warm.
Sounds good. Now, do you have any sort of tie-in with the EQC?
We have people work in a panel as well that work with them and talk with them, and we are trying to help by building a program called Canterbury Build Back Smarter. We're working with a group called Beacon Homes, and we want to really help people to build back smarter when they build back for energy efficiency.
All right, and Sheila, finally, home energy advice. Tell me about this.
Oh, well, what happened in the community is people are saying, who can we trust? Can we ring people that are trusted about energy advice? There's lots of things going on, and we don't want to spend a fortune doing insulation or putting some other particular product in and it doesn't work, so they can ring home energy advice, and it's free advice.
That's excellent.
All about everything about energy.
So it's 0800 388 588, 0800 388 588, and that's different to the 0800 Get Warm.
Well, either one you can get through. So 0800 Get Warm is a new initiative, or you can just ring this number.
And there's also energyadvice.org.nz.
That's right, yes.
Now, how can we get in touch with you other than that?
There's a website.
Yes.
And we're Community Energy Action, so we have to make it a bit smaller. That's CEA.
Yes.
So it's www.cea.co.nz.
All right. Sheila, 0800 Get Warm or 0800 388 588.
That's right.
Really good to have you on the programme.
Well, thank you very much. I've really enjoyed it.
Now I'd like to welcome Chris, the founder of Hello Sunday Morning. Welcome.
Thank you.
Now tell me, what is Hello Sunday Morning?
Hello Sunday Morning is a movement to change the world's relationship with alcohol, and what we do is provide an online opportunity for any individual to take an extended break from drinking and commit to living the life that they want to live in that period.
I'm just going to I'm picking up on your accent. You're not from here.
No, I'm not. I'm from across the river in Australia, yeah.
Yeah, and so you come over here to promote Hello Sunday Morning?
Yeah, I have. We have had quite a lot of interest in New Zealand. We've now got 1,500 people across the world that have started the program, and 100 of those, or more or less, are from New Zealand, because Australia and New Zealand has very parallel drinking cultures, and it's part of everything that we do. So taking an extended break and getting the support to do that is really powerful and helpful to a lot of Kiwis and Australians alike.
Yeah, so why did you start it?
It started because I woke up when I was 22 and started to question the way I was drinking and the way I was using alcohol. And it used to be about the experience, but I was finding I was using it as an excuse. I was finding that I wasn't achieving all the things I wanted to achieve. I was letting my health go a little bit, and I really wanted to make a change in my life. And the way in which I saw that could happen was that I'd go 12 months without drinking and sort of commit to that online and commit to my goals and kind of become a bit of a hero in my own life. And it sort of started and evolved from that into now involving other people and providing that opportunity to others.
Okay, and how long has it been running for?
18 months, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, so it's relatively new, but we've really come to a good understanding as to what it takes and why it is we as a culture drink and what are the elements we believe we should change.
Okay, so you do think that New Zealand and Australia have the same sort of drinking cultures?
Yeah.
Is it a bad thing?
I think there's parts of it that are really positive, and I feel that it's not until you can say no that you can really say yes to those parts. So in doing a Hello Sunday Morning and doing a 3 months, you really get to realise the times when maybe I shouldn't really be drinking for this time, or I'm just giving into peer pressure, and also the times that you go, yes, this is a time where I want to share my glass of wine, or I want to have this beer. This is a positive part, and I'm not hiding behind it. So it's until you can say no that you really get to learn to say yes, and I feel like that's a vehicle that Hello Sunday Morning provides.
Okay, what do you hope to do with this program? And you say it's been going for 18 months. 1,500 people have picked up on it?
Yes, yeah.
Where do you hope to go with this?
Well, I hope to get as many influential people, such as yourself, to start the program and, I guess, inspire a change around the world. I really like to see that one day in 5-10 years' time that people don't rely on alcohol and drinking is a consumer choice rather than a psychological one. So that's a long road ahead, but we're really committed to creating that, and as challenging as it is, I really hope that individuals can stand up and do their part to make a difference.
Okay, and it goes for 3 months?
Yeah, or as long as a minimum of 3 months, but some people go 6, some people 12, whatever they prefer.
Okay, what kind of responses have you had back in Australia to this?
Well, you know, it started as a young person's program, right? So I thought that it would be attractive to young people, but it's really spanned generations, spanned gender, geography, everything, because it's a human issue, you know, and that's why it's not an Australian thing, it's not a New Zealand thing, it's about how we as individuals choose to live our lives. And so I'm constantly inspired. You go online onto the website and you see people's blogs, you see how inspiring those people are and the change that happens in their life on any account. Like, it's quite amazing, and yeah.
You're not against alcohol, though?
No, I'm not against anything. I'm for individuals making their own choice.
Okay.
And we grew up in a culture that kind of makes that choice for you, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like it's not until you really kind of take a step back and understand what your individual choice is that you can really make a decent one.
Okay, so you're here in New Zealand this week to spread the word about Hello Sunday Morning.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, where else are you going?
In terms of around the world?
Yeah, or are you in New Zealand and then in the world?
Yeah, okay, so we're in Christchurch for the next 3 days. So talking at the university tomorrow night.
Okay.
And then having a few different meetings with different universities and kind of sort of working out how we can fit in there in the way we do in Australia. And then following that, New Zealand, Australia and the UK and the USA has some interest in this as well. So hopefully expand it in whatever way we can.
Okay, so what's your website?
HelloSundayMorning.com.
And do you have a Facebook group as well?
Yeah, so just type in Hello Sunday Morning and you'll be able to find it on Facebook.
All right, Chris, I think I'm going to give this a go.
I would love to have to see you on there.
3 months?
Yeah. Lock it in?
Thanks very much. When shall I start? Maybe I should give myself a few days. Maybe I'll start next Monday.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's a good day to start.
Looking forward to it.
All right, 3 months. I can do this. All right. Chris, really good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much.
We'll be back after this break with Geoff from the Knox Church. You're back with City Life. Now, everyone's seen the church on the corner of Beeley Ave and Victoria Street, and this is the minister, Geoff King. Good to have you here.
Good to be here.
Now, Knox Church, it looks very holy at the moment.
It's an extremely holy church.
Yeah.
It's more open than it's ever been.
Yeah.
Yep, and it's,
So
yeah.
what's it like seeing your church like that right now?
On the one hand, we've kind of got used to it. On the other hand, you can be driving down Papanui Road some days and just think, yeah, it does look kind of forlorn. But we've got some good news. We're intending to rebuild it. So, yeah, things are moving forward.
So are you staying on that site?
Indeed we are, yes.
Will you be keeping any of the facade, or is that all coming down?
The bricks are gone forever for a variety of reasons. It's just not safe to build with that much mass that high up. But we had a congregational meeting yesterday and approved a preliminary plan for a rebuild using the same footprint but a modern cladding, a seismically safe structure around the outside and keeping the wooden interior. So it's going to be it'll be a unique building actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, it first came down, like the bricks started coming down in September's quake, right?
Yeah, we lost some in September, not heaps. We had sort of a sandwich effect in September because of the way that the quake shook, and kind of thought we'd got over the worst of that fairly intact, but February was a different story.
So in September, were you still using the church as a church? Okay.
No, for safety reasons we got everything out pretty much. Shored up what we could, took down some of the top layers of bricks from the tops of the gables to try and make it safer, and basically shifted everything into the hall, which is in the more modern building next door to the church.
Okay.
And we've been here since then.
And when February happened,
yeah,
what happened then? I mean, were you at the church, on site?
Yeah, I was in my office upstairs in the hall next door, which also houses the Lifeline counselling organisation, and yeah, it was pretty weird. I didn't really realise, I think, how much damage the church had sustained until I got to the car park after everybody else had got out. But yeah, we lost a lot of bricks in February and have lost more since. So it was pretty evident after that we couldn't really rebuild it the way it was.
So how it looks now, it's wholly massive holes on each side.
Yes.
Is that from the earthquake, or have some of those been pushed out for safety reasons?
Well, some of it was the earthquake, but most of it actually has been systematically dismantled for safety reasons because of the size of those blocks of stone and just the danger they represent for passers-by. We were lucky that nobody was in a car on Beeley Ave when the first quake happened in February, but we've just been really careful to get things as safe as we could since then. So what you're seeing in terms of the gaps is the wooden framework. The pillars are wood, and they've basically just twisted and buckled and moved with the quakes, and the roof framing and the timber sarking is all intact as well. So it's a testament to the power of wood.
Sure is. So when are you going to start clearing the site?
Well, we've been working progressively at that. There's a hoist on site this week. We're getting some more of the brickwork out, more of the pews and everything that's gone from the inside. So inside's pretty much a barn now, really. Got to lift the carpet, and then we can start, once that's all done, securing the exterior and beginning to rebuild, hopefully. So it's just a matter of consents now and getting all the things lined up, church authorities lined up. But the first steps have been taken, and we've got a great plan, good architect, good engineers. So
great.
Yeah.
How's the congregation coping with all this?
They live all over the city. Some of them are in the red zone. Some of them, their own homes are very badly damaged, just like any congregation, any community, mixed. But it's been good to have somewhere to meet, and our key priority was getting the hall up and running, to get Lifeline back in, to get community groups using our hall again, and we've managed to do that. So the rebuilding of the church is kind of a second string priority.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the church now seems to be symbolic of what's been going on in Christchurch. Are you sort of reaching out further into the community now as well?
Yeah, I mean, one of the reasons we want to get on with the rebuild is to provide a community facility, and the redesigned church it'll be a worship space for sure, but it's actually aiming to be a multi-purpose facility for musical events, maybe for conferences. So we want to make it a multi-purpose community-facing facility in a way it couldn't be before. The red bricks never quite said welcome somehow, it was inside was beautiful, outside was a bit forbidding, so we have a chance now to do something different with that. And that's the goal.
Now, some of your congregation members made us at CTV some morning tea once, so we must thank you for that.
No, that's the least we could do.
And you came in and you spent some time with us. Now, do you have any sort of, I guess, words for people out there in Christchurch?
Oh, look, I mean, we're just part of a much bigger picture, and the banner we had outside our church early on says a lot of what we want to say in terms of, the heart of the community is broken but still beating, and I guess theologically, philosophically, we feel we're part of something that's a lot bigger. So, when you're part of that, when you're sharing compassion, when you're working for justice and trying to rebuild, there's something a lot bigger than us going on, and we want to support that. So I guess we're saying hang in there, keep going and keep supporting one another, and keep building for a better day.
What keeps you going, Geoff?
Well, people like you guys, actually. People like the people in the wider community doing their jobs despite huge losses and tragedy. It's a privilege to be part of a bigger community pulling together at a time like this, and I think I find God in that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Geoff, thank you so much for coming on the program, and good luck with your rebuild.
Pleasure, thank you.
All right, after the break, we catch up with Di Lucas on the Peterborough village. You're back with City Life, and I'd like to welcome Di Lucas, who is a vibrant stayer in Christchurch. I like your button.
Thank you.
What does it mean for you?
It means that I'm one of these stayers in the city.
Yeah.
We're determinedly staying for a good rebuild. We're going to have a renewed, vibrant city.
Now, you are part of the Peterborough Village group. Now, tell me about this.
Well, the Peterborough Village group came about because I was concerned. I'm in Manchester Street and it's very damaged. Our house is the only habitable one in that street. And Peterborough Street around us, through from Colombo Street to Barbados, it's very damaged. Colombo Street's very damaged, and Kilmore Street down from us is very damaged. So I put a ring around and thought, this around the Peterborough Street area, it's a very damaged area, but it's also quite a cohesive area and in lots of ways been quite a good community. So we put a leaflet around, said, do people want to get together, think about renewal? And 55 people turned up at our place. Wow. I couldn't believe it. So the place seemed emptied out, and it was amazing. And there was so much interest and excitement. People, instead of being down in the dumps and, just distressed, they started getting excited about the possibilities for working together. Yeah.
So tell me what the Peterborough village will look like.
Oh, well, it will be quite a lot of residential plus business, because we've got Colombo Street and Clearmore Street, they're business areas, and it'll be medium density housing, which will involve from a single-storey standalone through to 4-storey apartment complex, but in a comprehensive way that will group around open space and public space, and recognition of the old waterways as old streams that flowed through our area. We'll recognise those, and we'll have public routes through the blocks. They're great big blocks in our area. You know, Colombo to Manchester's a big block, and Manchester Madras, big block. So divide those up, hopefully, get public access through, lanes, public space, courtyards, community gardens, village greens, playgrounds.
You've even thought about fruit trees.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So who are you taking these ideas to?
We put an outline development plan idea into share an idea. We drew the line around, put that in, and we wrote some principles. And then since we've had a few meetings, we've met with the City Council, some of the officials in the Central City Recovery Plan, because we're within that area. And when the draft plan comes out in 2 weeks, we'll comprehensively respond with our plan for our area. Okay. We're setting up, we're just establishing an incorporated society. We'll have a village council, and we'll have our own design panel, so that we work together. Yes. So
is this like a new community group that has sort of been formed out of this whole earthquake saga thing? Yes.
We were within the Moa neighbourhood group, which is a lovely neighbourhood group, but this is part of it, rather than the great area, which isn't so damaged. This is part of it. But it's big enough to house 3,000 people, probably, plus a lot of businesses, cafes, you know, wine bars, shops, and all. You know, we have Metro, Johnson's Grocer, Valentino's, all those places within it. 4 Thai restaurants we've had.
Yep, you do.
lots of different places, and hopefully it'll be, again, a real mixed use and vibrant place.
Now, this is very much like the Sumner community group, you know, an area coming together with all their ideas. And this is good that people within communities are coming together with these ideas.
Yes, it is. It's great. We're related to the Avon. The Avon's our southern boundary, and an increased Avon parkland corridor will be important, and links through to that will be part of it. So, like Sumner has their beach, they have more topographic containment around behind them. We don't have that. But no, it's great, the community, the power of community. But we need to recognise diversity. It's important we have a diverse community, that's for a healthy community. You know, and we all love that, love the variety.
So are these just residential people, or have businesses be coming onto these meetings as well?
Oh, businesses. There were 8 business people from Colombo Street at our first gathering. And people with, you know, 6-storey office blocks that are being demolished, all those sorts of people, they're coming to meet with us. There's very diverse.
So how often are you meeting?
Oh, we're now weekly.
Okay.
At least.
So how can people get in touch with you, people who just are near your area and want to be involved? How can they get in touch with this group?
They can contact me, and I'm findable. Soon we'll set up a village website, and people will better go in via that. But at the moment there's a web page on mine on Di Lucas. You can go in and look at Lucas Associates website and find it there.
Excellent. Di, really good to have you on the program.
Lovely, thank you.
All right, after the break we catch up with Jim Anderton. You're back with City Life, and I'd like to welcome back to the program the Honourable Jim Anderton. Good to have you here.
Good morning.
Now, I was talking to you before about your recess and what you've been up to back in Parliament.
The word recess has different meanings for different people.
Yeah.
I've just been commenting that I don't know how we find time for Parliament now with all the work that's around here in Christchurch.
Yeah. So how have things been going? What are you up to at the moment?
Well, I think we're in another stage now where the initial shock and kind of, you know, willingness to get on with things takes you so far, but now some real hard problems set in, you know, the dealing with insurance companies and EQC and kids and living in your second home sometimes. I've had people who had their own home demolished, then they rented a place and that was demolished. Now they're in another place and they're still trying to work out what's going to happen with their own home. And it's really a full-on job dealing with the trauma of all this. And as I thought would happen, as you get on, a year on from the first earthquake, some of the psychological and emotional problems that are caused by the tension and the anxiety start to show themselves. So I guess people like me and others who are in the area of being called on to help people find that there's a hell of a lot more people to help.
So how do you cope at times like this?
Well, because you're so busy, I think it's relatively easy. I know my wife has found it very hard, and she's as tough as old boots. Comes from a farming background. You know, she could slaughter sheep, and I faint at the sight of blood. Yeah. But she's found it very hard. She was in the city when the second earthquake hit, and she had buildings falling around her, and the car was thrown off the road. And I suppose I have to put my hand up to say I didn't fully appreciate the trauma of that. When you're not exactly there at the time, you kind of say, oh yes, right, well, let's get on. But actually it comes harder and harder to get over those things. Yeah. And so you know, every time there's a truck passing, really the old nerves are jangling. So I have a lot of empathy for people in this position. So, you know, we're going to have to be very kind to each other, really, over the next period.
I agree with you. Okay. So what we're talking about today is a subject that will be worrying to many New Zealand families, youth suicide and its connection with youth unemployment. Now, what's your take on this?
Well, I take a very pragmatic view of this. I know there are some clinicians and theoreticians on suicide who claim that there's no direct relationship between unemployment and suicide, and they say that mental health is the issue. Well, of course it is. 90% of all suicides, and we've got to remember that it's not just a youth suicide thing. 80% of people who commit suicide in New Zealand are over the age of 24. People think that suicide is all happening to young people. It's not actually. The majority is happening to all ages, and particularly over 24 years old. But we do have a very high youth suicide rate. And unfortunately, I lived through the period of the 80s and 90s where we had virtually mass unemployment among young people, and some areas as high as 30 or 40%. So that meant that nearly half of all kids who were leaving school were going on the dole. Now, I lived through that period and I was in close contact with my electorate and families and kids in that position, and I literally saw the light go out in the eyes of young people. They tried to get jobs, they applied for 40 or 50. I know cases where they'd put in, you know, almost 100 applications with CVs and they never got one single reply from an employer, not one. And what it did to them was demoralise them, and it gave them a sense of worthlessness, no self-worth. And therefore, once you get to that point, you start to think that there's no worth in your own life, and therefore it doesn't matter whether you're living or dying, actually. So that was a very troubling experience for me, and I saw it firsthand. So you'll never convince me that unemployment doesn't lead to a loss of self-worth, doesn't lead to depression, doesn't lead to suicide, because I think the connection is absolute. And when I see the figures that are building up now, we have 3,000 young people in New Zealand, in Christchurch, as I speak, who are unemployed. And I see the same pattern starting to emerge as was emerging in the 80s and 90s. And suicide doesn't happen straight away. It's a downstream effect. So you'll see in the figures of the 80s and 90s, it was 3 or 4 years after the peak of unemployment that you got the suicides, because it doesn't happen instantly. And I see the same pattern now.
Why is youth unemployment so high right now?
Well, when we were dealing with in the 80s, there was a kind of almost sacrifice of a whole generation. I mean, the politicians, in my view, quite callously and without any sense of the seriousness of it, decided that you had to change New Zealand, and the faster you did it, the better, and someone had to pay a price. The mantra was, there is no free lunch. Well, the kids didn't get a free lunch, all right, they got a bad pass. My generation came through full employment, free education, free healthcare. We had a kind of, you know, heaven, really. And the young kids came along and got this backlash of student debt, of unemployment and all the rest of it. And the only way we got on top of that was when we became the government in 1999, I particularly, as Minister of Employment, Minister of Economic Development and Regional Development, set out about, with mayors, you'll remember Gary Moore's initiative of the Mayoral Task Force for Jobs, every young person who left school, the objective was to have a job immediately, or a training program, apprenticeships, or education for a job. Okay. And now we've lost that, because kids are leaving school with no job, no training program and no further education. That's a disastrous combination.
All right, what does the New Zealand government have to do about this?
It has to adopt the same approach, in my view. It has to encourage regions, take the Canterbury region. We have a ready-made job program. We've got to rebuild the city. What I'd be doing was saying to young people and employers, see that cathedral there? That's going to be built, and it's going to take maybe 30 or 40 years. We want young kids to learn the trades and craft skills necessary to rebuild that. And we want the firms and the experience to train those young kids so that they can be part of rebuilding Christchurch and part of the solution. This is how it's been done in Europe after the Second World War, and in many of the cities that have been devastated like Christchurch has. So we've got plenty of work. Or what we need is connect the young people leaving school and going into unemployment with those jobs.
All right, how can young people get help, both with unemployment and how they're feeling?
Well, this is the big problem. If the government and the cities don't have proper programs, these kids fall through the cracks. They're the ones who leave school early. They're the ones who end up on the street. They're the ones, ironically, that we end up spending the most money on through the justice system, the police and the prisons, when we should be investing in their future and ours through education, further education post-school, training programs and apprenticeships. I've seen what happens to kids if they go into an apprenticeship program with a guarantee that if they perform well, they get a job. The best program I ever saw was where kids were challenged to meet high levels of achievement in training programs with the guarantee they have a job. Not a certificate, not a piece of paper, but a job. And boy, did they perform. Different to the kids who got a piece of paper and said, good luck with the job. This program said, if you perform to this level and you pass these achievement goals, you will be taken on as an apprentice. I hardly saw one failure in those programs, and that's what we have to do now.
All right, Jim, really good to have you on the program
Thank
today.
You.
This week is World Breastfeeding Week. Carol, why do we need an event for breastfeeding?
Breastfeeding, the aim of World Breastfeeding Week is to draw attention to issues to do with breastfeeding. So every year, the World Alliance for Breastfeeding Action, they put out a theme. And so in lots of countries around the world, we all work with that theme. And really it's about celebrating breastfeeding, drawing attention to breastfeeding and the importance of breastfeeding. And also the week really is about having a good time. Yes.
What is the importance of breastfeeding?
Well, it's the optimal way to feed a baby. It's designed to help the baby with their development. It's also designed to help the baby develop their immune system. So when a baby is born, their immune system is extremely immature, and how they continue that support that actually comes from the placenta, and when the baby's inside the mother, how that support continues and that immune system development continues is through breast milk. Because it's a living fluid, it comes directly from blood. It's full of cells, it's full of antibodies, and of course it's got the ultimately optimal nutrition you can possibly get.
It just totally amazes me, because my sister has just had a baby, so, you know, and I think they're both loving it, you know. But not all women can breastfeed, right?
No. Well, it's meant to be enjoyable. I mean, I think the species would have died out a long time ago if breastfeeding hadn't been enjoyable, because we didn't really have any other milk at all for thousands of years. But I think there's a small percentage of women that are unable to breastfeed, but we're talking about maybe 3 to 5% that have got issues. But then we've got a very large percentage of women that don't get the support they need at the beginning, and particularly for the first 6 weeks. And they're the ones that run into problems and challenges. And in New Zealand, we are really lucky. I mean, we have a 90 to 94% initiation rate of breastfeeding, which means that a lot of women breastfeed. I mean, in Ireland, I think it's about 54% of women who start. And in France, it's 63. So having a 90 to 94 is fantastic. But by 6 weeks, there's quite a big drop-off.
Right.
And so it's really, I think, part of World Breastfeeding Week as well is to draw attention to those issues and say, well, can we support women? It's not about sort of pushing women to breastfeed. It's supporting all those women that want to breastfeed so they can keep going. And as you say, your sister is enjoying it. It's a really lovely way to build a relationship on top of everything else.
Exactly.
So, yeah, supporting women that want to breastfeed is really critical.
Now, what's the theme this year? Because there's always a theme.
Well, the theme this year is 3D. So I think what they're looking at really is this three-dimensional idea that it's more than just the mother and the baby. Like it's actually extending it further to all the support people around that mother and baby, all the systems that should support the baby and the mother and baby as well. And we're talking about a whole lot of legislation possibly. For example, things like longer paid parental leave is a really good idea because parental leave systems are generally fairly incompatible with breastfeeding or breastfeeding continuation. And I think it's also looking at pushing it out into the areas where people wouldn't normally think about breastfeeding. So like into the media more, into areas where they don't think about it like schools. So I think that's the idea behind the three-dimensional, is just looking at it with a different, you know, about being part of it, like right inside it.
So tell me about some of the events in Christchurch this week.
Well, all the maternity facilities will be having their own little displays and events, and there are also all these events called the Big Latch-Ons. And the Big Latch-On is a national initiative, and it was started by the Women's Health Action in Auckland. And now every year, at the same time, on the same day, all around New Zealand, lots of women all sit down and breastfeed at the same time. And so I think last year there was 1,514 women who all breastfed simultaneously. And the idea is that you have a countdown and then all these babies have to latch on the breast. And of course some don't. Some go, what? And they don't do it. But the ones that actually manage to breastfeed for at least a minute, they put their hands up and then they get counted in the final count. And then every year we just try and get more. And it's a really good opportunity to have fun. And there are little events like there's one in Rangiora, one in Lincoln, and the big one, the main one in Christchurch is actually at the City East Church.
Okay, so we'll come back to where the event is this week. But breastfeeding, is it still a sensitive subject?
I think that it's definitely becoming less of a sensitive subject, although you can guarantee that it's something that will provoke quite a lot of interest. I mean, certainly if there's anything ever related to breastfeeding, it does get picked up by the media if someone's upset about something, or it seems to be quite a thing that just pulls in interest. But I think it's still, we're trying to normalise breastfeeding, saying breastfeeding is just something that should just be out there just as normal. And so women who are breastfeeding, wherever they may be, because of course, as your sister's probably discovered already, breastfeeding babies do feed frequently and it's not necessarily that predictable. And so sometimes when women are out and about, it would be nice if they're able to breastfeed wherever they are without creating any interest at all, actually. So I think that sort of issue of breastfeeding in places in public is still sensitive in some areas, but I think it's improving. I think as breastfeeding just becomes seen more.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how we become more supportive, by it being more...
By being supportive of women and just saying, well, not saying anything, just leaving them alone, really. And just not making a big deal out of it.
It is those small comments, isn't it?
There's a really lovely campaign that happened in Canada last year where they had these life-size photographs, cutouts of women breastfeeding in all sorts of different positions, and they were full-size colour, so they looked real. And they were put all over town, all these cutouts. So some were sitting on walls, some were leaning against buildings, and they were all holding little cards. And when you got close to them and looked at them, it said, well, when breastfeeding is accepted, it won't be noticed. And I think that's where we're sort of aiming to be.
That's good. All right, this Friday, the big latch-on.
Yes.
City East Church, 118 Shortland Street. Yes. What time is it? 9:30. Or doors open at 9:30? Well,
doors open at 9:30, and it's good if women arrive early because they need to sort of get settled and sit down. There's it's hard to arrive at 25 past and race in and find somewhere to sit down. So we open at 9:30, and we serve a very delicious morning tea at 10, and then we have the big countdown and the latch-on, and then after that we have a puppet show for the toddlers and the preschoolers. Natural Magic are going to perform.
Nice one. Carol, really good to have you on the program today.
Thank you.
Back after this break, we talk about fostering kids. Welcome back, and I'd like to welcome to City Life Iris from Fostering Kids. Good to have you here.
Oh, it's nice to be here, thank you.
Tell me about Fostering Kids.
Fostering Kids is an organisation that's sort of been around forever but has taken a leap forward in the last sort of 2 years since I came on board. We are an umbrella organisation that supports, trains and advocates for foster carers across New Zealand. And the key thing is about sort of ensuring that foster carers have sufficient expertise to be able to deal with the traumatised kids that come into foster care.
Okay. How has your organisation coped over the last few months?
Well, in Christchurch in particular, what we did was we gained particular funding to enable us to have 2 contractors, wonderful women here in Christchurch, and they have actually rung up every foster carer that's a member of Fostering Kids and also others that wanted the support. They have been not only ringing them up, but have done home visits. They have organised a visit to Arana Park. They have done practical things like take shovels with them to help with the liquefaction. When they go, they hang out the washing. They're an ear for foster parents because, as you can imagine, particularly when the large earthquake sort of went, that the sort of children that are in foster care are very much in fear of abandonment, you know, much more so than your ordinary biological children. So if there were sort of a few hours between the foster parent getting to the schools or wherever the children were, that would be sort of major anguish for those children. So not only are we dealing with the children, but the foster carers sort of in their attempts to be able to manage those things.
Tell me about the children who are the ones who need foster care. Is it because of the child themselves or because of the families they come from, or a big mix? Very
much the families they come from. Children go into foster care and the bar is set quite high. It's not something that Child, Youth and Family do sort of, you know, unwittingly. It's very serious when that happens. And they're all traumatised. They're neglected, they're abused, physically, sexually. Those children have got real issues, and some of them have high and complex needs.
Okay. And so have you seen a greater need in Christchurch for more fostering foster families? I guess
what we see is not so much that, but that the foster families themselves need much greater support. One of the things they need is, you know, we call it respite care, but it's actually a break. That they need to be able to sort of go away for a weekend and try to find the funding for them to be able to do that, or even take the children out of Christchurch. It's not necessarily a break from the children, but a break from the situation that they're in.
Okay. So are you looking for more foster families?
We're always looking for sort of foster families. We don't actually are not the organisation that does that, but what we're hoping to do through our sort of media presence and PR website, those sort of things, is actually to increase the awareness of the need for the right kind of foster parents throughout New Zealand.
What kind of training do they need to be foster parents?
Well, they get 3 days compulsory training, but that's not quite enough. I mean, as you can imagine, these children perhaps seem to be fine, and then a few years down the track, you know, something arises that's triggered off. They might have been sexually abused and they start to sexualise behaviour as they get older. So that foster parents need to be aware of that these children aren't being naughty, that this is actually something that has arisen from the trauma that they've experienced during their time with their biological parents, and also how to deal with difficult behaviour.
Right, so I'm guessing that the Fostering Kids parents or families here in Christchurch do need a bit more support in terms of going on holiday and things like that.
Absolutely, and I mean, one of the wonderful we've got a wonderful sponsor, L'Oreal, who's, you know, given things like hygiene wipes and extra shampoo and conditioner and things like this, and many of the other corporates also, you know, Pacific brands have given socks, and you know, we've been trying to do those sorts of things as well as visit them and listen to them and provide support and encouragement where we can.
Okay, Iris, how do people get in touch with you?
They get in touch with us through our website or our 0800 number. Fostering Kids is a very welcoming website, so we'd be delighted if people could do that.
Okay, so it's fosteringkids.org.nz or 0800 693 323.
Thank you.
Iris, good to have you on the program.
Many thanks. Finally on the program, it's my absolute pleasure to be able to introduce City Life's
production assistant Natalie Slade. Good to have you here. Finally on this side of the camera.
Yay!
And Richard, good to have you here as well.
Good to be here. Thank you.
Now, you're both performing in an event this weekend. Natalie, tell me about the event.
Yeah. Well, it's for the Canterbury Theatre Organ Society. They have regular events, so it's always a range of different performers. This weekend, Richard is the star of the show, and I'm his special guest performer. And he gets to play for, I think it's a whole 2 hours or so, and I get to just join him for a good 30 minutes. Wow. So we just get to do a nice little bit of jazzy live music.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, Richard, tell me about the Organ Society.
Well, this is the Canterbury Theatre Organ Society. It's one of 3 organ-based bodies, or 3 or 4 actually, organ-based bodies in Christchurch. 3 popular organ associations. The Canterbury Theatre Organ Society started in 1986, and its main object is to just basically make people aware of theatre organ, the style of theatre organ music. It's modern. It's had its initiation in the early 20s and 30s when the movies didn't talk, but it became a concert instrument over the years. And that's how it is today. And we just like to give people a taste of theatre organ music, which has moved with the times. Yeah.
Now, the quakes must have been a huge blow. Did you lose many organs in the earthquakes?
Well, I think the number of pipe organs, of course, that got lost in churches and such like that's very tragic. I know several friends of mine who are classical organists, and of course now they just don't have instruments to play here in Christchurch, and it's very frustrating for them.
Okay. So, and tell me about Vicky, your friend here. Oh, she's wagging her tail because she's heard her name. How has she coped?
She has coped extremely well, as a matter of fact. It amazes me. In September, the big earthquake then, we woke to it, but she slept through it.
Did she?
Amazing.
Okay. Vicky, you're doing a good job there, having a rest.
Oh, yes.
Now, tell me about the upcoming events after this weekend.
Well, after this weekend, we have, in a month from that particular weekend, we have on the 4th of September. This is not a Cantos thing. This is actually another organisation which I have the pride of representing. The Drury Theatre Organ Charitable Trust is having a concert. And they have concerts fairly regularly. We stage concerts. I'm the musical director for the Drury Theatre Organ Charitable Trust, and we have fundraising concerts for various organisations around Canterbury. This one coming up is actually for the benefit of the Canterbury Arthritis Society Incorporated. Okay. The funding from that concert will go to them after expenses, but we have 2 American guests coming to perform. They are a duo, a piano and organ duo. The organist Rob Richards is a theatre organist of considerable note. He was actually Theatre Organist of the Year as nominated by the American Theatre Organ Society in 2005. Wow. And he is our guest theatre organist. He actually plays now in the El Capitan Theatre on Hollywood Boulevard. The Disneyland Theatre, the El Capitan. Yeah. Plays a mighty big theatre organ of 4 keyboards. Wow. Amazing size. And he has joined by Alex Zolt, who is a pianist, and he's actually a contemporary gospel pianist, but I imagine that the music they'll be playing is good Americana, good sort of secular music. So, we would love to see as many folks to come along as possible, because we're, this is another idea of bringing theatre organ music to the people of Canterbury, and it's a lot of fun.
Okay, so this weekend, Natalie, what will you be singing?
Some old jazz standards. I think we're looking at some Billie Holiday, some The Girl from Ipanema, some of the really old beautiful standards. Actually, a lot that we used to play together back in the day, so it should be a lot of fun.
So do you always do jazz?
I always did in the past, but these days I'm branching out. Everything's changed in Christchurch, as you know. So these days I'm heading towards pop music even.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. And I keep making you want to put... making you put it on my Facebook so I can share it with everybody.
Well, watch this space.
Yeah, watch this space. And also to put it in the in our green room for all the guests who come into CTV to listen to. Look, this is going to be a good thing. Right. Now, how can we get our tickets for this weekend?
Well, actually, you just arrive at the door, don't you?
Yes.
You can arrive and just get tickets, and they're really, really affordable. I think it's only $7.
That's right, for 9 members of Cantos.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Whereabouts is it?
St Timothy's Church in Kendall Avenue, and it's at 2 o'clock on Saturday afternoon, 6th of August.
Right.
The concert goes from 2 till 4, and they have afternoon tea afterwards, which is provided.
Excellent.
Yes. So
That sounds lovely, and only $7.
Yes.
All right, Richard, really good to have you on the programme.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to be here.
And Vicky, of course.
That's
and
me.
Natalie, really good to
Thank
have you
you.
here on the other side. All right, that is City Life for today. You can get in touch with us. You can call us 3777 033. You can email me, canetta@ctv.co.nz, or you can write to us, PO Box 1100 Christchurch. You can watch episodes of City Life on demand. Just go to ctv.co.nz, find the big YouTube logo, click on that, and you can watch all the episodes of City Life. And we're also on Facebook, CTV City Life. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.